afternoon, everyone. My name is Roz Womering, the Interim CEO of Volunteering Victoria, and I thank you all for coming out today on this very warm summer day. I'd like to begin by acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and future, and to any other elders that may be with us today. A few housekeeping things. We may be more arrivals may be coming, so I'll go through some of the housekeeping. We will be taking photographs throughout the event today, so if you do not want your photograph taken, please be sure to speak to one of the Volunteering Victoria staff, such as Emily or anyone at the table. Will make sure to honor that. And we're also live streaming the event, the entire event, so you may want to text your colleagues, your friends, and your family and tell them to watch and join the celebration. They can head to our Twitter page, which is twitter.com/Volunteering Victoria. And you can, of course, replay it and watch it at the end of the day. Our Twitter handle is Twitter @VolunteeringVic, #VV State Awards 2017. We are also doing some filming today for Study Melbourne, Live Volunteers, International Student Volunteering. So if you do see some cameras, that's what they're here filming as well. I would also like to say that the Honourable Bruce Atkinson, President of the Legislative Council and our Master of Ceremonies for the State Awards today, may need to be called away if interrupted because of the sitting of Parliament. If that happens, we do have a backup. Our lovely Deputy Chair of the Board will be supporting you, Bruce, if you do need to exit. And the bell would ring for about 3 minutes, so just be aware there may be a little bit of excitement in the afternoon. And we are going to keep the volume down just a little bit because of the Parliament sitting, just to be mindful of their presence as well. So apologies for any inconvenience, but this is a true demonstration of democracy in action. It is my delight and pleasure to say that we have some very special guests with us today. And I'd like to tell you in attendance, the Honourable Bruce Atkinson, Member of the Legislative Council, President of the Legislative Council, and Master of Ceremonies for the State Awards. Thank you. Gabrielle Williams, Parliamentary Secretary for Carers and Volunteers, Parliamentary Secretary for Health. Lovely to see you. Cindy McLeish, Shadow Assistant Minister for Environment, Communities, and Volunteers. Welcome. Colleen Hartman, Member of the Legislative Council, Representative of the Victorian Greens. Jennifer Pascoe, Department of Health and Human Services. Rebecca Miller, Head of Sikh Volunteer, and also Katrina Hudson, Manager Sikh Volunteer. I'd also like to mention Paul Wilton and Angela Wilton of the Wilton Foundation. Volunteering Victoria, Directors of our Board, Bronwyn Clark, Con O'Brien, Dallas Beeston, Bradley Smith. Welcome. We do have some formal apologies I would like to read out as well. The Honourable Daniel Andrews, Premier of Victoria. The Honourable Colin Brooks, Member of Parliament, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. The Honourable Jenny Makakos, Minister for Families and Children, Minister for Early Childhood Education, Minister for Youth Affairs. Philip O'Meara and Josephine Beers, Department of Health and Human Services. Volunteering Victoria Directors of the Board, Andrew Coughlin, Angela Seach, and Jeffrey Sharp. We also have an apology from one of the judges, that being Helen Yorston from the Bendigo Volunteer Resource Centre. I want to just give a very brief review of the awards. We are in our third year. We're very excited this is our third year of the State Awards. They were developed in consultation with the sector, and they were developed to complement the Victorian Premier's Volunteer Champion Awards, which are coming up on December 3rd, along with International Volunteer Day. So whereas the Premier Champion Awards honour the volunteers themselves, the Volunteering Victoria State Awards honour the leaders and managers of volunteers, volunteer programs, and the organizations that work to support volunteers in their communities. We recognize that volunteering is changing in many ways, and the awards are there to acknowledge the changing and evolving nature of volunteering. and the extraordinary infrastructure that exists across the state of Victoria, working daily to support those many volunteers and that necessary system of support that they enable. I would like to just say a word to all of the finalists here in the room with us today. This is your special day, every single one of you. You are all deserving of our praise, our admiration, our celebration, and most of all, our gratitude for everything that you have all done. You have demonstrated the pinnacle of excellence and performance in how volunteering contributes and benefits to all of us. So thank you for the common good to everyone. We thank you sincerely. You give us hope and belief that the future of volunteering is safe and will continue to be a part of our lives. We have 6 award categories. They are excellence, inclusion, employee volunteering, thought leadership, innovation, and lifetime achievement. I would like to now also thank our sponsors for today's event. It would not be possible without the kind and generous support from, again, the Honourable Bruce Atkinson, President of the Legislative Council, for emceeing the awards today after such a long evening. We do appreciate your presence. Parliament of Victoria, for this beautiful environment that surrounds us. We are grateful indeed. There could be no more beautiful environment than where we stand today for volunteering. The State Government of Victoria, through the Department of Health and Human Services, and our sponsor, Seek Volunteer, as well. I also want to thank and acknowledge our judging panel. They did a fabulous job. Helen Yortston, Bendigo Volunteer Resource Center, Rebecca Miller, Head of Seek Volunteer, Dr. Christopher Baker, Research Fellow, Center for Social Impact at Swinburne University of Technology, Con O'Brien, Board of Directors for Volunteering Victoria, and also Simone Power, Melbourne City Mission. Thank you, our judges. And with that, I would like to welcome the Master of Ceremony, Bruce Atkinson, Member of the Legislative Council, President of the Legislative Council, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Ros. I've got to say that you all look a lot more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed than the people in the adjoining room, which is the Legislative Council chamber, which has been sitting since 12 o'clock yesterday lunchtime and continues to sit, but hopefully will complete its examination of what is a very important, indeed a landmark bill later this afternoon. Can I begin, first of all, by acknowledging the Aboriginal peoples, the First Nation peoples of Victoria, who indeed conducted their celebrations and their forms of governance on this very spot and in and around this area where the Parliament has been established. And I certainly, on behalf of all of you and certainly the Parliament, pay my respects to their elders past and present, and particularly any who join with us today. This Parliament is an extraordinary building. It's iconic. It's the most important building in Victoria, and there are 2 reasons for that. The first one is obviously easy for us to recognise in terms of its architectural significance. An amazing building. To think that, and I hope that some of you have had a chance before, or maybe today, particularly with the Council, to see those legislative chambers. They were built in just 10 months, which is an extraordinary achievement, and they were built at a time, 1856, when in fact the population of Melbourne was less than 100,000 people. Now, this part of the building was actually added at a subsequent time, and there have been a couple of other additions. This actually used to be a road going through from MacArthur Street at the back down to Burke Street. And at a subsequent time to the initial legislative chambers and their attendant office buildings being constructed, we filled this all in, created what is the entry area, and obviously the steps were put in place, and Queen's Hall was created here, which is used for so many fantastic events, so many uplifting events, such as today. The Parliament, as I said, is important in architectural terms, and that's easy to acknowledge. But the other thing that's important about it is that this is where we can test the ideas about how we can make Victoria better, how we can provide more effectively for the future of our children and our grandchildren as much as the needs of the current generations. We deal with a lot of very significant issues, and indeed the landmark legislation that's under consideration is a voluntary assisted dying bill, effectively the issue of euthanasia. And there is a vigorous contest in the ideas on that legislation and indeed on so many other bills, so many other propositions that come before our Parliament, and that's what makes it important. I guess in a third sense, it's also important in terms of the work that we do here, to the best of our ability, to engage with the community and to recognise people who ought to be recognised for their achievements and their contribution to Victoria and Australia. And that's the reason why I was delighted to accept the opportunity to be with you today and to play a small part in today's events. And indeed, I'm sure that was also the reason that Gabrielle Williams and Cindy McLeish, two of my colleagues from the Legislative Assembly, were also very keen to be a part of this extraordinary event. Colleen Hartland and Jenny Makakos in particular may actually pop in, but they are also tied up in that significant debate next door. So if they don't have that opportunity to share this event with you, then I would certainly on their behalf pass on their apologies and indeed their regret that they cannot share this occasion. These awards are significant. There are many award programs, and there ought to be many award programs because indeed recognition of people's efforts is really important. We need to be able to say thanks to people. We need to be able to ensure that people feel that their efforts are not just respected, but also really appreciated and are important to making this state work, to supporting people within this state. And particularly, I'm sure that some of the awards that will be given today might well touch on organisations that are involved in youth development, be they sports organisations or other organisations that are very much trying to develop skills and values in young people. And what better work could you do? There's obviously also organisations who are particularly involved with people from an ethnic background who've come to Australia and need support to get on their feet. There are organisations who work in aged care. Again, very important work. And there are those organisations that support people with illness. People, and I don't know that they're necessarily represented here today, but like the breast care network, and so many other organisations associated with particularly cancer support, but indeed a whole range of other things, multiple sclerosis, diabetes, all sorts of things. Governments can do a lot. They're pretty good at spending money. But really, in many cases, what is more important to a person is not so much what governments can do, but the fact that they can get a hug or a cheery word of encouragement from somebody who just understands, who empathises with them, who's prepared to provide some time to support them. As I said, these awards are important. There are many awards, as I indicated. But these ones are important because they recognise management in the volunteer sector. And I can't emphasise enough, and I'm sure Gabrielle in her remarks may well also touch on the fact that That management factor is critical to nurturing our volunteers, to retaining our volunteers, to attracting new volunteers, to ensuring that they feel supported, that they are able to develop skills, new skills, that they are able to actually do the sort of work in our community that the community so much needs. Management is about morale, it's about developing skills, it's about saying thanks. And today, through Volunteering Victoria, we're able to say thanks to those people who are the linchpin of so many organisations in their management roles. So from that point of view, I'm delighted to advise you that the proceedings today will include an address by my parliamentary colleague Gabrielle Williams, who is, as has been indicated by Ros, the parliamentary, stay there, not just yet, parliamentary secretary. She's moving a lot faster than me, but she's had a lot more sleep. Who is Parliamentary Secretary for Carers and Volunteers and Parliamentary Secretary for Health. We'll also subsequently have some reflections from the judging panel, Simone Power, a member of the Ministerial Council for Volunteers, and then, of course, we'll have that magical process of the announcement of finalists and recipients, and, of course, then, most importantly, afternoon tea and some official photographs. Can I just indicate, as I do ask Gabrielle to come to the microphone, that one of the great things about being a Member of Parliament is that you meet so many people in the community who are inspirational. I mean, we come across a lot of people, and many of them are celebrities, football stars, actresses, actors, all sorts of people, international guests. But I think Gabrielle, Cindy and I are just as inspired when we meet somebody who's worked in a canteen at a football group for 40 years, or who's been a school crossing supervisor, or who's worked with one of the health support networks, or worked in aged care, perhaps delivering Meals on Wheels or some other services. You are inspirational, and you have a legion underneath you who are just as inspirational. I'm sure Gabrielle is looking forward to making some remarks in support of your work in the community. Gabrielle?
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Bruce. There are few people I know who could speak so eloquently after 36 hours of no sleep on either side of politics, and Bruce is certainly one of those. And for a relatively new MP, a new person to this place, I can say we look at somebody like Bruce and aspire to be them one day, and aspire to have that level of eloquence at any time, let alone after sitting overnight. So well done, Bruce, and thank you for being here. Also to Cindy McLeish, as we've heard, the Shadow Assistant Minister and Member for Eildon. Colleen Hartland, who, as we've also heard, is currently in that room off to the side, but I'm sure she'll try and pop in if she can. Rebecca Miller, from the head of Seek Volunteer. Katrina Hudson, Manager of Seek Volunteer. I know Ros, the CEO of Volunteering Victoria. I'm having a wonderful time getting to know Ros and enjoying an ongoing and very strong relationship with Volunteering Victoria. So it's a pleasure to have you on board, Ros, and all that you bring to the partnership with government. So thank you as well. The Volunteering Victoria Board, I know many of you are here, and also I must do a bit of a shout out to members of the Volunteering Ministerial Advisory Council. I know there's several members of that council here today, and I will get to them throughout the course of my remarks, but they are a remarkable group indeed. To begin, I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders, both past and present, and any other elders we may have here today. It's always a pleasure to be part of such a special day, the Volunteering Victoria State Awards. And these awards celebrate the very best in volunteer management and leadership, as well as individual outstanding volunteer organisations. And I'm being heckled by the Minister for Health at the back of the room at the moment, who is flailing her arms to try and distract me. But it's great to see the Minister for Health popping into the event as well, so thank you, Jill Hennessy. As we've heard, these awards include and acknowledge organisations and individuals over a range of different categories, including excellence, innovation, inclusion, thought leadership, employee volunteering and lifetime achievement. And I'm delighted to note that this year that new award category has been introduced, that Lifetime Achievement Award, to recognise exemplary service by a volunteer leader of 7 years or longer. Now, I don't think I need to tell anybody here how important volunteers are, how important a role they play in our Victorian life, whether that be our cultural life, our sporting life, our artistic life or our economic life. Your reach is incredible, and it reaches into every part, every corner, every nook and cranny of our community. In Victoria, we have 1.5 million people offering their time, as well as their passion and their enthusiasm to their community through volunteering. And that's through a range of different sectors and areas and activities, whether that be in sports, the arts or community radio, for example. That was it. But we know that much of the success... Is that Bruce who has to leave now? We're trying to see what colour they are. Good. That's all right. I'm going to soldier on through these bells and hope you can hear me. But we do apologise for those. They will ring for about 3 minutes, so hopefully you can all still hear me over them. As I was saying, we know that much of the success of any volunteer effort depends on the hard work and the passion and the vision and the determination of leaders and managers of volunteers. And I've got to say, it's not an easy job being a volunteer leader or a volunteer manager. Volunteer managers need to balance the changing expectations and needs of individuals, the community and their organisations. They also support volunteers to undertake meaningful and satisfying roles in their organisation. Sounds easy, but it isn't always easy. They are also responsible for attracting the right people to volunteer roles and for engaging, motivating, supporting and training them to effectively carry out their responsibilities. It's a very, very challenging job, which is why today we're here to celebrate those people who lead volunteers and volunteer programs. And I also want to congratulate Volunteering Victoria for organising these awards, as it gives formal recognition to the important work and achievements of people who too often go unnoticed. They sit behind a volunteer effort a lot of the time, and it's very important that we acknowledge that without them, a lot of that effort that we see out there in our community just wouldn't take place. It wouldn't be there, and it certainly wouldn't be as well organised as it so often is. The Victorian Government, the Andrews Government, values the exceptional work of Volunteering Victoria. We value the work it does to support the Victorian volunteering community, and we're proud to continue to partner with them and look forward to continuing a very strong relationship with Volunteering Victoria into the future. We're committed to ensuring Victoria's volunteering sector remains strong and vibrant in years to come, and we'll continue to support Volunteering Victoria's work towards a shared vision of resilient, diverse and connected communities. To demonstrate our commitment to supporting Victoria's volunteering sector and our volunteering effort, we established the state's inaugural Ministerial Council for Volunteers, which I have the great pleasure of chairing. That's now been in operation for a couple of years, and the Council's purpose is to provide strategic policy advice to government on how best to support and strengthen volunteering in Victoria. And I've got to say, one of its greatest strengths is that it's a two-way conversation. We talk about, from the government angle, where we think things could be better, and we're told how we can, as a government, better support the volunteering effort. And I think that's an amazing relationship to have. The MAC itself is very representative of a very, very, very diverse sector, as you all know, and it's a conversation and a discussion in government that I think has been much needed and has been long overdue, and I've been very proud to be a part of a government that's brought that conversation to the fore. Finally, and most importantly, I want to thank all the nominees here today, as well as the finalists and those who will receive an award, for your commitment, your positive impact on people's lives, and of course the positive impact you all have on your communities and on the broader Victorian and Australian community as well. Your achievements really are worthy of celebration, and it seems not quite enough to be only here for one day of the year or for a couple of hours to acknowledge you. But I hope that you take away this celebration as just a small token of what each of us in our community think and feel every day when we see in action volunteers in our community, and when hopefully some of us reflect on the fact that behind that effort there are a lot of people sitting there and working out how to make that work, which is, as I said, sounds easy. I know it's not. I've spent a lot of time speaking to volunteer managers and coordinators and hearing the challenges, hearing the opportunities, and most importantly being inspired, as Bruce said, by just the enthusiasm, the energy and the passion and all of that valuable knowledge too that you bring to your roles. You're a great asset to our state and to our nation, and you should be very proud of yourselves, both today at this event but every day. So thank you very much. Well timed, Bruce.
Timing is everything. And now all I've got to do is find my right place. It is my pleasure. You're doing what?
I was just holding on for you.
Well done. Didn't she timed us? I've had enough filibustering this week. But indeed, it is now my great pleasure on your behalf to invite Simone Power to the microphone to tell us a little bit about the judging process, which I am sure was very difficult.
Hello everyone, my name is Simone Power and I'm a member of the Ministerial Council for Volunteers and a Volunteering Victoria member. On behalf of the judging panel, Con, Christopher, Helen and Rebecca and myself would like to thank Volunteering Victoria for the honour of being involved in judging such an inspirational demonstration of volunteering in the state. The applications from our finalists were outstanding, to say the least, making our job very challenging, with many applications undergoing rigorous discussion and deliberation. Votes were sometimes so close they required further reflection and critiquing. Your hard work and tireless efforts made our job very, very difficult. In all award categories, the judges were presented with the highest calibre of applications, each unique and extraordinary, not only reflecting the diversity of volunteerism within Victoria, but also your unwavering dedication, your high skills amongst yourselves and within your organisation, and the communities that you support and the people that you serve. The common thread between all applications was the demonstrated level of passion and commitment to volunteerism, and the enormous impact that Victorian volunteers are creating within their workplaces, communities and families. On behalf of the judging panel, I would like to express my most sincere congratulations to all category finalists and award recipients. Thank you for your vital contribution to volunteering in Victoria.
Can I just ask Colleen Hartland to stand up and be seen? Colleen, as I said, is involved in the proceedings in the Legislative Council this week that has obviously taken an opportunity to get a breath of fresh air amongst all of you inspirational people. Ros, we are delighted with the work that's been done by the Ministerial Council, and we thank you, particularly Simone, for the work done in respect of the judging and the panel, the people you worked with. It is always a real test to go through and try and compare the contribution that different people make and to understand the context of those contributions. And I guess, as is often said, and it's not just trite words, when people come into a room like this and have been recognised as nominees, let alone winners, they are all winners and they are all deserving of our admiration and congratulations. Now, we will proceed to the announcement of the awards, and the process will be, I will tell you just a brief little bit about the award, and then Ros will announce the finalists, and Gabriel will then announce the winner in each of those categories. So the first award for presentation this afternoon is the Excellence Award, and it's awarded to an individual manager or leader of volunteers or a volunteer-involving organisation for demonstrating a commitment to going beyond the best practice volunteer management. Ros?
And the finalists for the Excellence Award category are Nicole Armstrong, Workplace Volunteer Coordinator for Ardoch Youth Foundation. And Very Special Kids.
Gabrielle.
I have the great pleasure of being able to announce the award recipient, which has been tucked away in an envelope. And the Excellent Award goes to Very Special Kids.
Are we doing that? Or are we doing that?
Do a quick one now before we...
Got a wide-angle lens. Panoramic view.
What are you saying, Bruce?
That I've been on a good paddock.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's two fabulous finalists there, and we're all very much, I think, aware of some of the work that Very Special Kids do, so that's sensational that you've been recognised in the work that you're doing in motivating your volunteer team there through a management process. The next one is the Inclusion Award. And the Inclusion Award is awarded to a volunteering program that achieves the inclusion of individuals or groups who are often excluded from the mainstream of traditional volunteering. Inclusion can be with respect to any groups within society that characteristically experience disadvantage, isolation or discrimination, including but not restricted to cold communities, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, people with a disability, the aged, gender or sexual identity groups, recent migrants and, of course, refugees. So, Ros, the finalists, please.
We have several finalists in this category. I will name them. Afghan and Tamil Volunteers, Enliven. Meals on Wheels, Melba Support Services. Michael Crane, Into the Limelight. Volunteer engagement members from the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre. Youth Parliament, YMCA Victoria.
So the Inclusion Award goes to the Afghan and Tamil volunteers from Enliven, Victoria.
Fantastic.
All move in front of the camera.
Come over.
Squeeze in.
Some people might think of the Afghani community as a relatively new community in Victoria and indeed in Australia, but it goes back into the 19th century in terms of some of the Afghanis who came to Australia, who drove camel trains and who were very much a part of life in rural and regional Australia. So we do today have some newer migrants coming from Afghan, and they are again doing some wonderful work in terms of contributing to the advancement of this state, and the recognition of your organisation is sensational. The third award is indeed the Employee Volunteering Award, and this is awarded to an organisation that delivers a specific, significant, sustained and successful benefit to one or more volunteer involving organisations through its employee volunteering program. The volunteering contribution may include general or skilled volunteering, including pro bono work. Ros.
Thank you. The finalists in the Employee Volunteering Award category are Employee Volunteer Program, AIA, the Grossi Group, Mercer, Australia. I would now like to invite Rebecca Miller, Head of Sikh Volunteer, to come to the stage to announce the recipient.
The envelope, please.
Thank you. Sikh Volunteer is delighted to support this award and announce the recipient today. We've been involved with connecting people to volunteer opportunities for over 17 years, and we're currently shifting our attention to employee volunteering. We know that most large businesses do actually have a volunteer program, but I think only about 20% of time is being used. So watch this space, and we're really delighted to support the businesses that are out there doing some great work at the moment. So the winner or the recipient of this award today is AIA.
I hope that actually over afternoon tea you'll take the opportunity perhaps to talk to some of the winners and also the finalists that you might meet in the course of this afternoon, so that you can perhaps get a bit of an idea of some of the things that they're doing that have led to them winning the award, but to perhaps have some of their perspectives on volunteering. And obviously the sharing of that knowledge within the sector is so valuable to all of our networks. The next award is an interesting one in concept, and I think it's a very important one. It is the Thought Leadership Award, and it's awarded to a researcher and a practitioner who makes significant contributions to the advancement of knowledge or research regarding volunteering, in particular but not limited to volunteering leadership and management. Ros?
Thank you. And the finalists for this award are Leanne McCormick, PhD, Uniting Victoria and Tasmania; Mohammed Salman, Western Health; and Dr. Pam Kapalides, La Trobe University. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Christopher Baker from the Centre for Social Impact, Swinburne University of Technology, and part of this year's judging panel to come to the stage to present this award. Christopher.
Chris, This year's finalists were all from the research field. Research is important to all fields of professional endeavour, and this award is important because it recognises the contribution of investigation and knowledge generation to ensuring that volunteer management in Victoria continues to go forward on an ever-increasing base of evidence. As a volunteer myself, and as someone who's contributed in a small way to volunteering research through the Giving Australia project, I'm delighted to be participating today and to be able to present this award. Thank you, Shelley. The recipient of the 2017 Volunteering Victoria Thought Leadership Award is Dr. Pam Kapelides, La Trobe University.
Pam must have been good because he didn't ask us to smile that time. So. It is now my pleasure to actually provide a short description of the Innovation Award, which again is another important category, I think. This award is awarded to volunteering involving organisations for an innovative, unique volunteering program or model that engages volunteers and makes a significant contribution to the work of the volunteer involving organisation itself, improving its ability to achieve its purpose and objectives and to deliver positive outcomes. Ros.
Thank you. So we have a few finalists for the Innovation Award. First, Disaster Volunteer Program, Golden Plains Shire. Farm to Families, Pop-Up Markets, Food Bank Victoria. Human Rights Law Program, Fast Track Clinics, Asylum Seeker Resource Centre. Orange Sky Laundry, Showers Team, Melbourne CBD and Southeast Melbourne Vans. And Valley. And Khan, I'd like to invite you back up to the stage, our Volunteering Victoria board member and also part of this year's judging panel, to present this award.
It's often said that necessity is the mother of invention. If that's the case, then I suspect that need is the mother of innovation. And we've got a lot of needs. So without further ado, now I'm hoping this is the right envelope because I did watch the Academy Award.
No, we didn't get PricewaterhouseCoopers to do this.
And the winner of the Innovation Award is the Human Rights Law Program, excuse me, Human Rights Law Program, Fast Track Clinics, and Asylum Seeker Resource Centre.
Excellent. Well done. I don't think any of us could underestimate the sort of work that's done by an organisation such as yours in in a community and with people who really do rely very much on your advice and support and connection with organisations within the community, and it's terrific work, so well recognised. I might also point out that PricewaterhouseCoopers actually does our internal audit here, and we find them as very satisfactory, good relationship. Not once have they mucked up an envelope here. The final award, and, you know, I mean, you're all inspirational, but when it comes to people who've actually, or organisations that have actually been there for the long haul and really trailblazed in many cases, it is particularly significant to recognise their contribution. And this final award is therefore the Lifetime Achievement Award, and it's awarded to a paid or unpaid leader or manager of volunteers for long-standing, distinguished and meritorious service to the volunteering sector in a leadership role over at least 7 years. Ros?
And the finalists for the long haul are Gary Mogford, Keep Victoria Beautiful. Hazel Maynard, Volunteering Victoria. Josh Revel, Friends of Warrandyte State Park Nursery Manager. Louise Agustinas, Vincent Care Victoria. And Teray Gordon, Jirhalinga Koala and Wildlife Sanctuary.
This was a very difficult one, very difficult. We spent a long time on it, and after due deliberation, we awarded the Lifetime Achievement, and I'd ask you not to applaud for the moment, please. We awarded the Lifetime Achievement to Hazel Maynard from Volunteering Victoria and to Teray Gordon from the Jirhalinga Koala and Wildlife Sanctuary. We couldn't separate.
Well done.
How about one last big applause for all of our finalists in the room today? Aren't they an amazing group of fabulous people representing the best? Very special thanks to the Honourable Bruce Atkinson for emceeing the ceremony today. Very deep thank you to the State Government of Victoria through the Department of Health and Human Services. Love you, Dan. Thank you to the Parliament of Victoria and Seek Volunteer for their continued support of this event. Thank you so much. I'd like to say thanks to some very special people who helped out in arranging the event, the Volunteering Victoria staff, in particular the amazing Shelley Falzon, Amanda Everton, and Emily Flores. We have two very special volunteers, Clara and Leon, in the room as well that have been helping on the event, as well as our board members, Khan, Bronwyn, Bradley, delighted to have you, and Dallas here today. And a reminder to all of you to enter again for next year's state awards. They are open to everyone. We hope you spread the word and encourage more and more people to put themselves forward and be recognized for their common good contribution. Now, we're almost to the end, but we have one more bit of formality. We would really love to invite back to the stage all of our finalists, recipients, and the award presenters, sponsors, judges, board members, and our very special guest to come for a great group photo, all of us together. Could I ask you please to do that?
No silence. No silence. Hey.
Short people in the front.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought I'd be back with the
You're okay with photo? Sorry? You're okay with your photo being taken? You're okay with your photo in the public area? Yeah. I know you're going to I know I'm going to stand here. Shorter and a winner. Go on, run.
You're still hiding behind something.